I know you've all been wondering, so today I'm going to tell you the story of what happened with this cable dig and where we're at in the process right now. So it was back in September of last year when someone showed up at our house, started marking some flags out in the yard, and looked like they were going to start digging something. So of course, me being the lawn person that I am, I'm going to go outside and check out what's going on. So I went out there to talk to this guy, and it was just after I had done my renovation, and he's kind of walking all over the place on this new grass. So I asked him what's going on, and he said, oh, you know, there's an issue with the internet down the street, and it's actually been found out that it goes through this area of the property, and we're going to have to dig in a new line here. I said, okay, well, I don't really remember there being an easement in terms of anything through here. And he said, oh no, there's an easement right here through your yard, and so whatever you're working on right now, that's going to be torn up. So I called the city at that point, and I just asked them about the easement, and I also asked them about, you know, this type of scenario and what's happening with this. And they said, yeah, there is an easement through that section of the yard, and also, you know, when they have to dig in a line isn't really up to us, it's just kind of up to the company. So back and forth with the company, we call them and say, you know, when is this project going to happen? What's it going to involve? How much damage is going to occur and things like that. And they really could not give us an answer at that point. They said, we're so far out on all these jobs, we don't know when it's going to happen. Hopefully it happens before winter, but we're just not sure at this point. And it will kind of be determined later on as to how this all gets done. But for the most part, they were kind of insinuating to me that it was going to be something trenched in over the top of the ground. And that's always something that I don't want to hear in terms of the work that I've done to my yard over the years and how level it is and everything. Many comments last fall in videos as that cable was still just laying across the driveway for the rest of the season, and we got to the winter and I thought, they're gonna have this done for sure before the snow falls, but that did not occur. So I had to deal with that during the winter season in terms of snow blowing and cleaning off the driveway and all of those things. Get to the early springtime here just a few weeks ago, and I see someone show up to mark some more lines. And they had told us that no matter what happens, we'll let you know before we dig or do any sort of thing with the project, because I have sprinkler lines in some of these areas, and if they were gonna try to dig through those areas, those aren't marked by a utility company, and I need to do that on my own. I kind of have a map that I created when we put in the irrigation system. So they show up, nobody had called me or anything. They show up to mark all of the utility lines. So we call the contact that we had previously, don't hear back from anyone. Finally, I get an email that just says, whenever they mark the lines, they have 14 days to actually do the digging. So it's probably going to occur in the next 14 days. We still can't give you an exact time frame. So probably a week goes by, maybe 10 days or so, and someone shows up at 8 a.m. in the morning to start digging the project. So I go out there and I tell them, hey, I have sprinkler lines in this area. Can you tell me what this is going to involve today? So they show me the property lines on each side, and they say, no, we're digging a 3-foot hole here, digging a 3-foot hole here, and then this is actually going to be bored under the ground about 3 feet under, all the way through that neighborhood area and all the way under your lawn. So I don't think we're actually going to have to dig anything on your lawn. So really this process came down to the communication of that. I mean, I really wouldn't have had to worry at all with that whole project if they weren't going to be trenching anything or digging through my lawn. So this I filmed just a couple days ago, and I'll show you what actually happened there and kind of what turned out with these actual holes that they dug and how they left them in the sort of condition that they're in right now. So right about here, exactly where my foot is the property line. You can see where things needed to be dug up. It's right on the edge of my beautiful ryegrass. The unfortunate part about the damage in this scenario, if you've ever been through something similar, is that the ground was actually still kind of frozen when they did this. So they had to pull out a bunch of that soil, which is still kind of frozen. It doesn't pack in there all that well. They had to actually compress things to get it back down into where it is. So I know that things are going to settle more than where they're at right now, but I think the key to what I would do in this scenario, if you have something similar happen to you, is just make sure that that seed that they put on there, if you want to keep it, is pressed lightly into that soil and then put something over top of it to kind of protect it. If you want to keep that seed, I have no idea what seed that they use, but otherwise you could probably try to vacuum it up or something crazy. I know that would look crazy, but definitely I've done that before. If you want to try to get rid of that seed and you want to put your own thing down so you know what's there, I would definitely recommend doing that now before anything starts to grow, obviously. And then whatever you put down, this stuff is just sitting here on top of the soil. It's not the greatest scenario for growing grass. You want it to be either lightly pushed into the soil and have something to protect it from the birds and from heavy rains. So that's where you could use either a light topsoil over top. You could use some compost, you could use some peat moss. You could use whatever you need to just put a light layer over top of that and protect it from heavier spring rains, from birds, and all that stuff until it starts to grow and germinate here. I realize completely that all these things are first world problems, but definitely when you spend a lot of time, hard work, and money on your property, it's definitely a good thing to be able to maintain that without having to have a whole bunch of utilities come through your yard and you start over. That's really the story of this whole project, and I kind of lucked out on what happened with it. So as far as I know, nothing got hit underground, but I guess we'll find out when I actually turn my irrigation on here pretty soon. So far, so good. Thanks so much for watching this video today. We'll see you next time.